Hey guys, Max here. Now here I have two of iPad Pro 11 inch with M4 chip. The only difference is you have tandem OLED nano texture display and tandem OLED standard display. This is a video from YouTube and I paused it specifically on this part. But before going there, I watched a lot of YouTube videos before deciding and going ahead and just buying iPad Pro with nano texture display. And honestly, I bought it blindly because I wasn't able to get the answers that I was looking for. Biggest issue I think that I was having is that people were comparing iPad with nano texture to an iPad that is so not comparable. Like I've seen one video comparing like iPad mini or what was it, the iPad 9, like not even on the same level. The completely different display technologies. I've seen people comparing to iPad Air from this year, different display. Same as I've seen videos comparing to iPad Pros from 2018. Again, not the same display technology. To have a fair comparison is to have both of the same devices shown right next to each other. The bare difference in here is one has nano texture layering, the other one is standard. I'm not even going in internal like 1 terabyte spacing, the other one's 256, which is the standard one, and nano texture has 16 gigabytes of RAM. If you buy 1 terabyte of the regular with the standard display, you're gonna have basically the same 1 terabyte and the same 16 gigabytes of RAM. Anything below is less than 16 gigabytes, less than anything that's configuration of the iPad that's less than 1 terabyte. But I just feel like a lot of videos out there were kind of unfair when it came to comparison. Should you go for the standard display or should you go for the nano textured? I think here you have much more of a fair comparison by having exact same two iPads. As far as a tandem OLED goes, is just one has standard and the other one has nano texture layer. So my sole purpose actually when I was deciding to buy nano texture is for reading purpose. I am not an artist, even though I can draw, but it's not something I do for a living. And a lot of videos out there are kind of targeted for artists, for people who draw and paint, graphic design, and stuff like that. But if you have money in your pocket and you're looking at an investment, or if you have an older iPad and you want to upgrade to something up to current, more powerful, something that offers something different, and you just have, you're at the point you can decide whether you want to go with the standard display or you want to go with the nano texture. And hopefully this is the video that's going to provide the answers. So I paused this video specifically right here on this video that I'm watching on YouTube. And this is where I think the biggest difference that's shown. Here you have reflections, but you have deeper blacks. This is at the max reflection. And then here, same thing, max reflection. And then you have this kind of a little bit, you could see the layering on top of it. You mostly, if you're looking straight on, cut the, like if you get rid of this light from the side, so there is still some form of reflection that you're gonna have to deal with. But if you're looking straight on, it looks absolutely stunning. Now, if you start turning to the side, now you start seeing slight loss in the quality of a display, just because there is that layer on top of it. Now, a lot of videos out there basically said there is a difference in display. This will have richer blacks, this will have more crisper image versus than that. Honestly, The difference is, in my opinion, is less than 1%. And I'm talking about like out of 100. If you're looking straight on the nanotexture display, you will be blown away how beautiful that display is. Absolutely is. It's still a tandem OLED display. The difference is you have that textured nanotexture layer, which again is great for reflection purpose. But again, the reflection is more diffused versus here where, like, if I'm pointing directly at the light that I have, you basically can't see much of an apple. But when you're looking here, you still have that reflection, but at least you're able to see that apple. So let me continue playing. But if you're comparing to something that's that's not, it's just like, for example, that I stopped it on that specific moment. Hopefully it's at the same spot. Almost. 1 second. So, but when you're looking directly on, the quality of the visual is absolutely amazing. It is amazing. Does this have better display than this? Again, there is about 1% in my opinion difference, where this is a little bit less than 1%, not as good as this. But less than 1% is absolutely nothing. They both have absolutely gorgeous displays, and they both have trade-offs. Any sort of reflection on the standard display, you're going to have issue watching what you're watching. Like, for example, in my kitchen, I have spotlights on the ceiling. They have they split. I could turn both sides on, or I could turn one side on and keep one side off. So when I go in to sit at my island, and if I have the lights on behind me, the standard display OLED, it's going to be very uncomfortable to watch anything. Like, even like I was watching, what is it called, Ring of Fire on the Prime. Generally, that itself is kind of filmed on darker, like the scenes in the TV show is darker. So you really need to be in a dark environment to be able to see everything clearly. So any form of light on the standard display, I was basically unable to watch most of it, that TV show. Is there a difference with the nano texture display? Yes, because it kind of blocks off that reflection, leaving leaving that ability to watch something without having to be distracted by that annoying reflection. That's basically the biggest issue when it comes to reflection. But is that worth of that less than 1% trade-off? Because if you are in a dark environment and there's not a lot of light distraction, you could definitely see how the standard display is basically has no competition. But having them here side by side, they both have absolutely beautiful displays. You could see where that, like here, this is more of a reflective device because it has standard. And you could see how the light is not really affecting this display, but you could slowly see where the light is affecting here, and this is looking less black than it is here. So there is a trade-off, and it's very important to determine what's important to you. Do you want a device that delivers on pretty much even experience, even like for reading, if you're into drawing, or if, like, for example, if you're in school and you need something for writing? And most of the time, if you're in school, those classroom lights are very bright. So nano texture displays definitely, I think, in my opinion, would be a plus. If I had that option when I was going to school, I would hands down go for nano texture, just because the writing experience on nano texture is much more comfortable. Some people say, oh, it's nicer, it feels much smoother to glide on it. Yes, but it is a fingerprint magnet. as much as this. The difference is it's easy to take the smudges off on the standard display versus it is on this display. It somehow requires much more rubbing. And on top of it, when speaking about rubbing, you do have to use an iPad, an Apple provided microfiber cloth in order to take care of this. There's actually a whole instructions how to take care of a nano texture display. So that says that it is on more on a fragile side. Additionally, if you're the type of person who wants to protect their device by applying tempered glass or some kind of screen protector, it's actually not recommended to apply one on the nano texture display. And plus, it's going to defeat the purpose of having nano texture display. Um, and then even though like the standard display has some form of anti-reflectivity, so by adding the standard like tempered glass display on it, you're going to have more reflection than you would actually do without it. But as you can see here, you see that nano-textured effect that you don't see here. Mostly see it like in the darker images, but you really, when it's like bright images, color, popping color, you don't see it. And honestly, like I said, it's probably less than 1% difference in my opinion when comparing to both. They both have beautiful color output. Here, I don't have to deal with glare if I'm in a bright environment. But look at this here. Like they both have beautiful, beautiful color output. So they both have amazing display. So what it comes down to is how much do you want to spend? Do you need 1 terabyte? Do you need to have the 16 gigs of RAM? I personally think the iPads are so over powerful at this point, like overly powerful for the iPad OS. Like even the last gen of iPads were so powerful, I've never had an issue. Like I was using, I believe, the first generation of iPad Pro with micro LED display, and that iPad was super powerful. But in here, when comparing, what is important to you? If you have a good trade offer, because I would recommend everyone, before you make an investment, see if you can get a trade. If you have an old laying around iPad, see maybe Apple is going to offer you some kind of trade deal. If you're buying an iPad from a local electronics store, see maybe they have trade offers. Take advantage of all that because that will make a whole huge difference when it comes to purchasing any of these devices. Buying it with no special discounts as far as the trades or student discount, any form like Apple offers student discounts. That's a good one. If you could get open box from somewhere locally, take advantage of that because I think just because you want to go for nano texture display, needing to get that 1 terabyte option plus adding that extra $100 on top of it. Now, both of mine are cellular variants, so that's also an additional cost on top of it. So that overall itself adds up to be very expensive. Unfortunately, I did not have any trade for this, nor did I have any trade offers on this, which was a big loss for me. But I did have a trade offer on the 13-inch one, so I definitely took advantage of that. So it's important what you're trying to get out of. So if you are in the professional world and you need to use Apple Pencil, or if you're a student, you need to read books, PDF version, EPUBs, whatever the electronic version of the book, ebooks, nanotexture, I think, is the way to go. That was my sole purpose of getting nanotexture, is to read books. And hands down, this is a must if you are a book reader. But I would have to say you have to be an avid book reader in order to justify the cost of the nanotexture display. With taxes and everything, it was like close to $2,500, $2,400. That's a big chunk for an iPad just to read books. I would say just see what are the pros and cons for you. If you have a lot of needs that require texture display, I highly recommend it. It's an amazing iPad with a display. But if you don't have the justifiable cost, then just go with the standard display. It is such a beautiful display. Yes, you'll have some reflection, but angle your iPad, move to the side, change positions. You're not going to be dealing with all the reflection issue. This has a specific use. A lot of it has to deal with this and for reading. For watching movies, obviously, true blacks. There's no hindering surface on top of it. You're getting true experience when compared both. The only difference, like I said, if you look here, you still get some form of reflection, and it's just unified reflection, versus here where it's specific and it doesn't spread. It just stays in that specific area, while here, as you could see, it kind of reflects further. In my opinion, like I've had this one for a bit. This one I've been using since I got it, and I absolutely love Nano Texture Display just because it suits my use purpose. Reading books, and that's that was my sole literally purpose going for the Nano Textured. Otherwise, the regular display is just amazing on its own. I generally do not use my iPads in light environments. I generally like to be in a darker environment. So for me, it's not an issue. But if you are planning to use those in any sorts of environment that has light, there's going to be an issue. Here I have light on top, you could see, and the anti-reflectivity on the regular standard display is actually pretty good. There is some form of anti-reflection. If you want to see the difference, just slap on it tempered glass protection screen protector, and you'll see the difference. And then let me put it here. You could see where there's a form of reflection here, here, here. If you watched any of the videos comparing displays, you'll see them doing the same thing. So overall, beautiful display. If you put them side by side, it's very hard to tell the difference. Very hard. Just you could see that but if you turned off the light, let me try to turn off the light. It's very hard to tell which is which. Like the color on both is absolutely amazing. The blackness, you could see it here because obviously it turned off and you could see some reflection. But having them side by side right now, it's almost impossible to tell the difference. I could only see it because I'm standing from the angle. And again, you see the difference when you start looking at the angle. Versus here, it still remains the same. But that's like really, really picking. They both deliver absolutely outstanding display experiences. Like I said earlier, there's probably like less than 1% difference between both. Mostly you'll see bigger difference when you're at an angle trying to look at something. Otherwise, it's very, very hard. The way, and this is like, I almost don't want to say it because I'm not an Apple fanboy, but the way Apple has gone, the route that they took by creating whatever they did to create this nano texture or whatever that they decided to, I'm sure they've looked at several um, like variants of the nano texture, but the way they decided to land on this nano display, it's absolutely amazing. And I've tried so many matte anti-glare screen protectors. If you watch a video and the person says, oh, save money and go buy this one, but you'll save yourself a lot of money, not true. Absolutely not true. If you buy a screen protector and you imagine, this is the basic way of explaining. Imagine you have all this light being reflected from the screen, and then you put layer on top of it. That layer is kind of going to diffuse the light underneath the screen protector, because matte screen protectors are not fully see-through. They have a layer on top of them. So there's definitely a difference when it comes to that. Because there is a layer, it kind of diffuses of light underneath the screen protector. Let me see. So because of that, the diffusion of the light underneath the screen protector. Now the blacks look more on the grayer side, and it's like cloudy gray. Plus, if you're looking at, for example, images that have colors in it. Now the colors look more muted now. They look less sharp. And then when you start looking at it closely, it's like looking at a display that has very low pixels. Not even HD display, not even 720 display. It's like looking at a 320 display where you could start seeing pixels just because you have that extra layer on top of it. So no matte screen protector, anti-glare protector. I've tried so many. I've tried even very expensive ones, and they all pretty much deliver very similar experience. It just distorts the image. And even reading is uncomfortable. And I tried, because I generally like to read on the latest devices just because they offer up to the date security protection. So I've tried so many screen protectors, and it just becomes uncomfortable. Not only that the text becomes looking more blurrier, it's just overall display. And especially if you're paying, let's say, $1,500, I don't remember how much it was, uh, and then you're making a display look like it's like a budget tablet that you could buy under $200, that's just completely wasting money away. So here I have them side by side with decreased light, and you could see both have absolutely amazing color output, amazing blacks. Like overall, it's very, very minimal difference. The only thing that I would have to say is the image here is that tiny bit softer, and you really have to look at things to really see the difference. And it's actually like even here, like this is more sharper. They're both sharp. It's just this looks just tiny bit softer because there is that textured layer that's there versus completely pure experience that's on the standard display. So hopefully this video actually shows the difference that I wasn't able to see in any of the videos that I watched, because when you're planning to make such an expensive iPad, you really need to see the difference. Obviously, I don't know if you could see exactly what I see on your end. All I have to say is both deliver absolutely beautiful, beautiful visual experience. Beautiful. Just slightly bit softer with the nano textured. But color, both vivid. You could see they both have blacks, true blacks. You only really see the nano texture when you, like literally, when you just tilt it sideways. You do see a slight decrease in the display when you start tilting it sideways. But honestly, most, even with the screen protectors, even the TCL Next Paper, even with the case that they have now for the S9, Tab S9 from Samsung, you're gonna see a slight decrease in visual acuity when you're turning it slightly angled. But when you're looking directly on, it's very, very difficult to tell much of a difference, just less than 1%. But if you need an iPad that's great for reading, it absolutely is great for reading. If you want to see the video on reading, I do have it posted, so do go check that out. If you need an iPad for writing, if you need an iPad that's more gently on your eyes overall, then that would be the iPad with the Nano texture display. Now, if you want pure experience display with no layering on top of it, you don't care about writing, you don't care about reading, you just want true, beautiful experience display, then you just go for the standard display. But again, the difference between when it comes to what color they output, how clear it is, how beautiful those display, it's very, you literally have to pick at the small things in order to differentiate both. They're both absolutely gorgeous displays. Let me change the positioning. There you go. Let me turn this light this way. In the dark. Absolutely nearly impossible to tell the difference between both. They both deliver absolutely gorgeous experience. I'm not even going to touch the speakers. I don't know what magic that Apple is using for their devices. I've always thought iPhones had amazing speakers, and their iPads are just like absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. Samsung does great with their speakers and display too. As far as others, yeah, no competition. Apple and Samsung is on top with their displays and their sounds. The biggest disappointing with the Samsung S10s, the brightness is not as bright as, for example, right here with the iPad Pros. iPad Pros just shines with their brightness. It's absolutely gorgeous. And they both are on max brightness, which is amazing. One thing that I've noticed, and I am not sure why, the battery on nano textured 73%. The battery on standard displays 32%. Now they both were at 100%. As I've been recording this video, they've both been showing the same videos. They've both been pretty much doing the same thing, but the drain battery on the one with the nano texture display is so much slower. And I don't know if it has to do with the 16 gigabytes RAM chip. I don't know. I really don't. Just from my experience, the nano textured battery is just a monster. Literally, they've been off the charger at the same time. They both started at 100%. They both playing 4K video, even though this is not a 4K display. But the battery on nano texture, you could see right here. Let me see. 73%. 32%. And this is just using Wi-Fi, and this has, they're both cellular, but I have cellular on this one. And it's also, right now they're both working off Wi-Fi, but the SIM is in here. So I would assume this would be using more. So this is basically it, and I hope you guys get to see how the difference between both as far as the quality of an image that you get, it's almost the same, like literally almost the same. But the trade-offs, it's so it's very literally very hard to choose what's important because I like that tiny bit softness to the Nano display. At the same time, I still get to experience beautiful images when I'm watching the videos and so on. At the same time, I'm able to comfortably read books. I'm able to open up news applications and read news articles or magazines. If you're into manga, like having that soft experience, it's so much better. Now, again, this is more tailored for those who do like to read or for those who like to write. I think nano texture display is the way to go. Also, if it's not financially smart to go for nano texture, just because if you have to make a decision whether to pay for your electricity bill or buying nano texture iPad, maybe not buying a nano texture display. Maybe just go for standard if you're still able to pay for your electricity and still get an iPad. I mean, if you're getting at that point, then maybe iPad is not for you. But like it's very important to tell the difference which one is more important, like which one is better. You just have to make a decision what is important for you. If you need a device for reading and writing, like I said earlier, then going for nano textured is just the smarter way because it is better. But like, I'm trying to change positioning so you guys can tell the difference, which one is different, which one is not different. At this point, I'm trying to figure out which is nano. Hold on. Okay, so this is nano, and I had to look through the side to see that this is a nano. Because it's nice to hear what people say, which is better, which is not, but literally it's so hard to tell the difference. So hard. The trade-offs, like here I could tell a slight softness versus here is slight more sharpness, but like again, probably less than 1%. Here you could see that this is nano because it requires more of a background reflection versus here, because there's no light shining at it, you get a unhindered visual experience.